Good morning or good afternoon. My name is Sue Paish and I am the CEO of Canada's Digital Technology Supercluster. It's my pleasure to welcome you to our exciting announcement and panel discussion today. We're going to share with you some exciting news about a significant investment, and we'll hear from some of our key partners about what they've been able to accomplish with our Digital Supercluster. This morning, I'm joined by the Honourable Phillipe Champagne, Minister of Innovation, Science and Industry, Brad Smith, President of Microsoft, and Julie Blackburn, CEO of NPower Canada. We have an outstanding turnout for this announcement and discussion with hundreds of business, government, and community leaders joining us. Thank you for being part of our exciting news today. Our participants are joining us from different parts of the continent. Across our continent, it's important for us to recognize and acknowledge the traditional lands of our Indigenous peoples. I'm in North Vancouver on the traditional ancestral territory of the Coast Salish, the Musqueam, the Tsleil-Waututh, and the Squamish peoples. I invite you to take a moment yourselves to acknowledge the traditional territory from which you might be joining us. In the spring of 2018, the Digital Supercluster team embarked on an extraordinary journey. Along with the Government of Canada, our founding members, and community, we had a vision to build a better Canada by bringing together industry, non-for-profits, and academia to solve some of our world's biggest problems through collaborative innovation. This past year has certainly emphasized our supercluster community's resilience, agility, and commitment to delivering innovative digital solutions that keep Canadians safe and healthy, and that create a promising future for Canadian industry and Canadians in our now digital world. Today's very special guest is just beginning his partnership with us, but he's already a passionate advocate for technology and innovation across Canada. It's my pleasure to introduce the Honourable Phillipe Champagne. Minister Champagne was first elected in 2015 as a Member of Parliament for Saint Maurice Champlain. He served as Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Finance until 2017 when he was appointed Minister of International Trade. During his time as Minister of International Trade, the Canadian-European Union Comprehensive Economic Trade Agreement, or CETA, was concluded, and Canada signed the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership. Yes, those are tongue twisters. In 2018, he was named Minister of Infrastructure and Communities, and he oversaw the federal government's ambitious $187 billion infrastructure investment plan. He was then appointed Minister of Foreign Affairs in 2019, and now he's here as our Minister of Innovation, Science and Industry. And in addition to the impressive portfolios Minister Champagne has held across some of the most demanding files in the Government of Canada, he also brings with him an impressive, and may I say daunting, history of experience in industry, serving as Vice President and Senior Counsel for the ABB Group, a leader in cutting-edge technology that operates in more than 100 countries. And prior to that, he was General Counsel and Chief Ethics Officer for AMEC Foster Wheeler. He and I also share a common connection in that we are both what I refer to as recovering lawyers. The minister brings with him a Bachelor of Laws from Université de Montréal and a Master of Laws in American Law from Case Western Reserve University. Minister Champagne is a business leader, he's a lawyer, he's an international trade specialist, and most of all, he's a committed Canadian. And we're indeed lucky to have someone with his experience, expertise, and determination at the helm of our innovation and industry portfolio at such a critical time for Canada. Minister Champagne, welcome to the Digital Technology Supercluster. Thank you for taking the time to join us. I'm going to turn the microphone over to you for some comments.
Sue, what a pleasure to be with you, and thank you for your very kind word. Actually, I think Brad is also a recovering lawyer. I see president next to his title, but I know he's a lawyer somewhere. So I'm sure for all of those who are with us, and thank you. This is like my second public event, and you taught me something, Sue. We need to make sure that my bio is shorter when we have 45 minutes. So we'll make sure we correct that. It's a real pleasure to be with you all this morning. And Sue, thank you for your leadership. We are blessed as Canadians to have people like you who have been significantly involved in our technological supercluster, a digital supercluster, and making a difference across Canada. And that's a real pleasure for me to be with you. Brad, what can I say? I've seen you in different portfolio, and I know today you're here for a good announcement. So delighted to have you with us virtually in Canada. And Julia, what a pleasure to discover all the work you've been doing. You've been instrumental in scaling up, I would say, Canadians, and it's an honor to be with you and all the young people who are joining us from across Canada. I would say good morning, good afternoon, depending where you are. It's a real pleasure to be with you. And I'm joining you from Shawinigan on the traditional land of the Atikamekw Nation. So without further ado, I would just say that this morning is a big announcement. Big announcement for what you're going to learn in a few minutes, but also because it means further investment in something which will really help a number of young Canadians to prepare themselves for the digital economy. So stay tuned as we go in this presentation today. Nous sommes réunis ici aujourd'hui pour célébrer une nouvelle initiative formidable de la Supergrappe des technologies numériques. Avant de commencer, je dois remercier Sue et toute l'équipe de la Supergrappe pour leur rôle essentiel dans la transformation numérique du Canada. 2 years ago, as many of you will know, we created Canada 5 Supercluster to accelerate innovation in areas of competitive advantage for Canada, including, obviously, in digital technologies. From large anchor firms like Microsoft to small and medium-sized enterprises to academia and other levels of government, our goal since day one has been to foster stronger connections among all players within Canada innovation ecosystem. So far, we have seen unprecedented momentum from the superclusters, and I want to say thank you, Sue. You've been doing an amazing job with hundreds of projects announced and thousands of good jobs which have been created. I would especially like to highlight the contribution of the Digital Technology Supercluster and others to meet Canada's critical need at a time when Canadians needed you most, particularly on the healthcare supplies, equipment, and technology as part of Canada's response to the COVID-19 pandemic. This includes, that will be of much interest to you, the point of care ultrasound for COVID-19 project, which provides healthcare practitioners with real-time diagnostic results that more accurately detect patients that have developed long-related issues like a virus. Developed using AI-powered platform, these handheld ultrasound devices will fill an important gap and a need in many of our rural and remote healthcare communities around Canada. Thanks to this new technology, 80 portable devices have been deployed to rural and remote settings in BC. And I must say that we plan to expand that because this is really something which could be transformational. And I really want to thank you for being part of writing history. Now, let me talk a bit about bridging the digital divide without giving too much away, because that's going to be for Sue, Brad, and Julia to give you all the good news. I'm just the introduction. The good news is coming from them today, so you have to stay tuned. What you're going to hear today, and I can only applaud their initiative, it's about helping members of communities underrepresented in the digital economy to get access to the right skills and training. And that I want to thank our partner, particularly Microsoft and NPower, for doing that, for empowering our youth to have the skills of the future, to make sure they can be fully part of the digital economy, and for complementing the government efforts to help all Canadians to benefit from opportunities of our digital world. Programs like Connecting Canadians and Universal Broadband Fund push us closer to our goal of securing access to high-speed broadband for all Canadians. We have all lived it. I'm calling you from home, and if I see the background of many of you, I think there are many like you who are calling from home. We have to reinvent ourselves. We work from home today. We collaborate together. We use platform. We do remote medicine, remote education. This is a new world, and the skills that and the training that will be announced today will make sure that you are successful in this new economy. What's more, to put those newly acquired skills to use, we also have helped with METAX to create 10,000 paid internships to better prepare Canadian students for the STEM jobs of tomorrow. So not only it's about skills, but it's about providing opportunities, which our partner around Canada, to make sure that the skills you're going to acquire and the good news that is to come, you're going to be able to make them and transform our world. Make sure that we use technology, digital technology, to make advance in healthcare, to make advance in AI, to make advance in new materials. So we count on you at every step of the way. So with that, we have come together to celebrate the latest Digital Technology Supercluster initiative and support of a more resilient and savvy Canadian workforce. So without further ado, you have been patient already. I will turn over to Sue and Brad and Julia to give you the great news that you have been expecting about how can together we can change the future for so many youth in our country. Back to you, Sue.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you for those very generous comments, and thank you for your leadership. Brad, microphone is now yours for you and Julia.
Well, thank you, Mr. Minister. It's great to see you again, and it's great to be part of what, as you said, is only your second public event. Sue, it's great to see you. I got to spend time with you and others on the last trip I had the chance to make before the border closed. And Julia, what a great opportunity to be here with you and NPower. I thought I'd offer a few words at the front about not just what's being announced, but why it matters. Because I do believe, as the minister said, that this is an important announcement. First, I think it's important because it is really addressing a problem that is critical. As the Canadian economy continues to rebound and as it rebuilds from COVID-19, as is the case everywhere, there are some people who have a tougher time. And everywhere around the world, we often see that oftentimes younger people who are new to the workforce, oftentimes people from marginalized or underrepresented communities have a harder time getting on the path to success. And that's what today's announcement focuses on. Working together to provide a better on-ramp into the economy and to better jobs for underrepresented youth, especially say between the ages of 19 and 29. Second, I think this really focuses on providing people with the skills that will make a difference in their lives. I can say this easily enough as a company like Microsoft. Today, in a place like Vancouver, we have 1,200 jobs, and we have 500 open jobs that we've added and we want to fill. But it would be a mistake to think about this as something that is just in Vancouver, just for the tech sector. It really is obviously for all of Canada, because it's reaching Halifax, the Greater Toronto area, Calgary, and now into British Columbia. But even more important than that, this isn't just about giving people the digital skills that will help them get a job for a tech company. It is about helping them get a job in every industry. Because what we're seeing in every industry is not just more tech jobs, but more of what we call tech-enabled jobs. Jobs that might be 20 or 30% reliant on digital skills and 70% reliant on other skills. But that last 20 or 30% can make all the difference in somebody's path to success. Another reason I think today's announcement is really important is, frankly, the partnership with NPower Canada. As a company, we at Microsoft have had the opportunity to work with NPower for years. And one of the things I appreciate is they know how to reach people and equip them with the skills that will make a difference in their lives. And so, as Julie, I know, will talk more about, I think this is a practical skilling program that will really equip people well to be more successful. And then finally, I'll just say, this, I think, is so important as part of a broader initiative. As somebody who gets to work around the world with governments around the world, I really feel that Canada's Supercluster project is a model. I don't know that it is a model that would work everywhere, because it's like a seed for a tree. It needs to grow in the right climate. But Canada, I have just consistently found, has such a great climate for this kind of collaboration. The supercluster projects that we've had a chance to participate in at Microsoft, I think have just been so exemplary in bringing together the government and government funding, galvanizing the business community, connecting with the education community, and then really relying on great non-governmental organizations. So the headline for today is an $8.7 million national initiative to reach 2,500 people. It includes a $1.4 million investment by Microsoft that is, in fact, a co-investment with the Canadian government. That's the headline. But the real story is, I think, as always, behind the headline, it's how we bring these ingredients together. And I think where the rubber meets the road is through NPower Canada. So it's an exciting day. We're really pleased to be part of this.
Great. Thank you so much, Brad. NPower Canada is very proud to be collaborating with Microsoft and our other partner, Blueprint, on what we're calling the Canadian Tech Talent Accelerator Project. So on behalf of our board of directors and the entire NPower Canada family, many thanks to Microsoft and to the government of Canada and the Digital Technology Supercluster, for your commitment to our program and frankly, your show of confidence in our model. I think partnership and collaboration are a real theme for today and for this project. And one of the things that I noticed at the Digital Technology Supercluster that you note in your materials that you quote, harness the power of collaboration. And I love this idea. I love this line. I won't steal it. I may use it, but I'll be sure to quote you. But I think it really speaks to this project and the work that you do. And certainly for NPower, we really wouldn't function without collaboration and partnership. It's really such a part of our heart and soul and our delivery model. So to be in partnership with all of you, I think really advances our cause. And together, I think we can and will support Canada's economic recovery by providing in-demand tech skills to unemployed youth and those that are at risk or are being left behind. We are a charity, and our mission is to reduce poverty by addressing youth unemployment. And we address this issue through workforce development. So we also have an economic development imperative to our work. And this, I believe, is a real key factor in our success. Now, this is a time where national youth unemployment is sitting at 29%. And nearly 1 in 4 Canadian youth, they're not in education, employment, or training. And if you're from a racialized community, that rate often is considerably even higher. So this project, as was mentioned, is really going to prioritize employment and training of youth from those categories, women who are highly underrepresented in IT, Indigenous youth, and youth from other racialized communities, new Canadians, the LGBTQ community, youth with disabilities. All of those youth we work with to give them that a pathway to really be able to participate in the digital workforce and break into where they haven't really been able to before. And we're going to do this by leveraging educational resources developed by Microsoft to add to our current online skills training program, and also work directly with Microsoft in developing a whole new training stream, which is going to be a junior data analyst stream. And look, we know these are in-demand skills. And our ultimate goal is to place youth into these sustainable, IT-related employment positions. So that's where the economic imperative piece comes into place. We're really providing Canadian employers with a pipeline of really diverse, custom-trained talent that they need, and that they might not have found through other traditional hiring practices. So we're really honored to have Microsoft invest this $1.4 million in the project, and to have the Government of Canada's Innovation, Science and Industry match that investment through the Digital Supercluster. So that's together is really a significant investment towards that $8.7 million project. So we're very thankful to be partnering with all of you, and looking forward to getting to work. So back to you, Sue, to do the panel.
Thanks very much, Julia, and thank you, Brad, for that news. That's big news. It's an honor to have both of you here today, and especially alongside our new minister. And Brad, I know you have a jam-packed virtual tour today of Canada, and we're so grateful you could join us. And of course, we're really grateful for $1.4 million of investment in skilling Canadian youth. As Julia mentioned, 1 in 4 youth in in marginalized groups is not in training, not getting employment, and they're our future. They're a significant part of our future. They're a significant part of our economy going forward, and they're a significant part of our country's commitment to inclusiveness. With the support from your project partner, as you've mentioned, Blueprint, the potential of what this project will do for underrepresented youth in Canada is really unprecedented. The Canadian Tech Talent Accelerator Project is enabling, as you've mentioned, a total investment of $8.7 million to provide valuable in-demand skills in technology and technology-enabled jobs for 2,500 underemployed youth across Canada. It also represents our supercluster's single largest investment to date of $1.4 million in developing talent through our capacity building program. Now, we've got a valuable opportunity today here, everyone, to learn from these organizations and these incredible leaders about the importance of skilling, about the importance of skilling in the digital domain, and how critical it is for Canada to accelerate digital skilling in an inclusive and equitable context. It's going to be key to our economic recovery, and it's going to be key to our future prosperity. So, let's get to discussion with our guests. And Brad, I'm going to put you on deck first for the first question. Canada has both a burning imperative and a significant opportunity to drive innovation and to help small companies scale. The Digital Supercluster, as you well know, does this through partnerships between industry, governments, academia, and not-for-profits. And Microsoft Canada has been a founding partner of our Supercluster at the table with us from the very beginning. You've referenced that this model might not work in every country, but we think it's working here. And so I'd like to know from you, why is it important for big industry players to partner with academia, with not-for-profits, and with smaller enterprises in order to address multiple problems, including the challenge of inequalities and the lack of digital skilling in the workplace? Over to you, Brad.
Well, it's a great question, Sue, and I think in part it comes to sort of the nature of innovation and economic growth in the world today. I think that it's not realistic or really even sensible for one place to try to necessarily be great at everything and spread its resources, across the entire horizon, but rather to ask itself, what its strengths are, and then how it can work with others, as a community, a city, a province, to really grow more rapidly. And I'll go back to Vancouver as one place where I've had the opportunity to see this work very well. I think a lot of people in Canada probably know that over the last 20 or 30 years, Vancouver became a place where people came to make movies and film television shows. They may also know that it became a great hub for the creation of video games. Well, when you take those two things and you put them together and you think about the future, you start to realize that that is a foundation on which one can build a future industry around something like virtual reality and augmented reality, what we call mixed reality. It's called building on your strengths. And it's possible for a company to invest in this. Certainly at Microsoft, this has been part of our growth in Vancouver. But what makes all the difference is when you start to think about how the whole city and province can leverage this. And that's one of the things that the Digital Supercluster project has done. And this, of course, is not by any stretch of the imagination the only focus of the Digital Supercluster. But it starts to help you identify what are the startups in this space that we can help to nurture. What are the institutions of higher learning? It may be a University of British Columbia, or it may be the Technical Institute that's based in Vancouver, where one can then invest in education to add people who will have the skills to fill the jobs that can be created. But ultimately, I think one of the real measures of success for these superclusters is not only about whether it can bring people together in a major city, but whether it can reach everyone in a province and beyond. And I think here too, an ecosystem-based approach that is much more collaborative makes all the difference. So, in a place like BC, it's given us the opportunity to all think together, how do we use broadband to reach more rural communities? Once broadband is there, how can we use something like mixed reality so that nurses can be trained in ways that they cannot in the latest healthcare practices? How can we equip smaller businesses so they can use this technology themselves? And so I think you get the picture. I think that this collaboration that is grounded in an understanding of strengths and weaknesses and then brings investment dollars together and then unifies the entire community, is something that works especially well where you have a spirit of collaboration. And I think that is a spirit that certainly I, as an American, see in droves in Canada every day. It's a spirit I'd like to see transplanted more broadly south of the border as well.
Thanks very much, Brad, for those really thoughtful, wide-ranging comments. And as many of you know, the Digital Supercluster, while our main office is in British Columbia, we now work with organizations across the country. Over 40% of the organizations that we work with are actually not in British Columbia. They're headquartered and they operate outside of British Columbia in provinces from Atlantic Canada through the prairies and of course in Ontario and Quebec. And Minister, I'm going to ask you this question. I know that your government, our government of Canada, has very significant commitments to youth and significant commitments to skilling. And so I'd be interested in your comments about how does this project with NPower and Microsoft that we've heard about today, and the work that the Supercluster is doing in skilling across the country, how does this tie into the Government of Canada's ongoing commitment to skilling and especially skilling for the digital domain? Over to you, Minister.
Well, let me say, Sue, to start, this is music to my ear. I was listening to Julia, I was listening to Brad. I mean, going back to what you said, Julia, I think we saw that COVID has affected everyone. But to your point, it has disproportionately affected racialized Canadian youth, those who are with us today, young women in particular. And one thing that I take away from Brad was saying, you know what makes us special, Brad? It's human capital. Because, capital is easy, finance is easy. But what we're doing today is investing in our future. The reason why Microsoft is in Canada, the reason why we're becoming a hub for artificial intelligence in the world, and I had the privilege of opening up a lot of companies who were coming, it's the people. It's the people who are with us this morning. It's the people we're going to give a chance. The proof that Canada is special is that with the skilling opportunities we're going to give, even Microsoft has 500 jobs open. I just learned of that today. For all of those who are watching, you know where to look for after you got the training. They apparently have 500 jobs open in Vancouver. That's what makes us special. So I would say, when I look at that, Sue, it's about short-term actions with a long-term vision. And I like when I think it was Brady said, I think you talked about technology-enabled jobs. So true. I come from a rural part of Canada where manufacturing was the bread and butter for so many people. But today you go in factories and you realize that technology is everywhere. So my hope, and with NPower and what Julie are going to do, is to give these 2,500 youth the opportunity to be able to join the workforce, to even imagine jobs that were not existing before, and to continue to make Canada strong. And certainly my wish, and when you see innovation, particularly in time of COVID, we are reinventing everywhere. We're saying build back better. I would like to say build back better together. And what better ways, I would say, than an announcement like today where you're really investing in what matters most, which is the human capital. I'll tell you, everyone on the line, if you were not there, Microsoft would not be there. And they would certainly not be in Canada. It's because you have people, because a factory is just about bricks and mortars. What makes a factory work, what makes innovation, when Brad was talking about augmented reality. It's the brain of the people, it's the skill, it's the experience that you're going to bring. And with NPower, that for me is the best investment in the future. We are building the Canada of the future, and that starts with you on the line and the 2,500 participants will have the choice to gain these skills. And oftentimes, I said that to Brad earlier this week, Sue. I had people when I was trade minister that came and say, why Canada? And you know what they were saying? Because when you invent in Canada, when you build in Canada, when you innovate in Canada, you can then sell to the world because of our diversity, because of the type of people we are. The products that you make and the software that you invent in Canada are usually the best one that you can export throughout the world. But that starts with the people and what you've been doing, Sue. I could not be more proud to see people like you want to give and make sure that not only we deal at what we need to think about today, but I think empowering others, younger people, to make sure that they'll be in the workforce of tomorrow. That for me is the best way to make sure that the supercluster will continue to flourish for decades to come. So back to you, Sue.
Thank you, Minister, and thank you, Brad and Minister, for those comments. At the end of the day, it is all about the people. And we talk about, as we are today, project announcements, and we're talking in big picture ways. Julia, you are on the front lines. You're working with the youth. You're working with that young woman or young man who is going to see a promise of a brighter future because of today's announcement. So I'd really like to hear from you, Julia, given the amount of experience that NPower has had in digital skilling and working with youth. What kind of career outcomes do we have coming out of this kind of project and the graduates that are going to come from this program? And I'm going to ask, if you can you make it a little personal and give us some examples so we can take these comments about our human capital and put it in front of us with a real person. Over to you, Julia.
Sure. Well, our program, we want to ensure that individuals are not able to just earn technical skills and certifications, but ultimately our number one metric, our number one goal is that they gain sustainable and meaningful employment. The skills are not helpful if you can't put them to use, or they're not the skills that industry's looking for. So, we're providing those employers across Canada with a real pipeline of candidates to fill all types of in-demand junior roles, everything from a data analyst, junior software developer, help desk. We've had over 2,200 graduates just here in Canada. So it's a very wide range of placements, and the population of those the demographics of those 2,200 graduates is quite broad, and it's represented by all of those constituents that I mentioned before. We're very proud that we are very close to achieving gender parity in our program. We're overall at 46% of the graduates of our program are women. So we're really helping fuel that pipeline of women going in. And, our young, and I think it's about 40+% now, are newcomer youth as well. So we're taking these young people and really, most of them coming from low-income households. They're unemployed or severely underemployed, living in very low-income households, and they're now working at all type, over 200 employers we have, everyone from enterprise organizations to small and medium-sized organizations, and as I think it was the minister said, referred to, technology is everywhere. So we're working with banks, managed services, management consultants, the telecommunication companies. Although we're a sector-based workforce development program, technology is everywhere. So the employers that we work with are from all over the spectrum. A very unique aspect of our model, I'll just end with, is that we employ a very holistic approach that focuses on professional skills and life skills, as well as technical skills and industry certifications. So our trained staff really supports our participants with mental health counseling, life skills coaching, interview techniques. And this, I think, comprehensive approach is really fundamental to our success. And we find that we get very positive feedback from employers around this aspect of the program. And we don't do it alone. We also bring in senior level IT professionals to volunteer in our classrooms and provide leadership training and professional development. And we're actually working with some youth in our program are working with a group of mentors from Microsoft. So they're providing the mentorship that's really important for youth to to have insights and leadership skills that are really needed for them and to be successful in their career long term.
Thanks, Julia. Thanks for that, Brad. I'm gonna go back to you for a moment. As I think you well know, and certainly your Microsoft team that works in with our supercluster knows that our commitment to skilling goes well beyond quote unquote tech jobs. And I think you referenced it, that many jobs are going to be tech enabled, whether it's in the mining sector or the healthcare sector or the forestry sector or retail. Tech enabled jobs and tech enabled talent is going to be critical. And Microsoft's made a huge commitment to this. Last spring, I believe it was, Microsoft launched your skills initiative. And perhaps you can share with us, Brad, a little bit about that program, results and successes you've seen in the program, and maybe how this project and your investment in the project fits within your overall skills initiative. Over to you, Brad.
Thank you, Sue. And let me answer that in part by building on what Julia described. Last June, we did launch a global initiative, an initiative to bring training in digital skills to 25 million people worldwide by the end of the year. And next month, we're going to announce the results of that and talk about next steps. But what I find so interesting, and I think Julia really captured key pieces of this, is that I think there's a pretty well-established methodology now to figuring out how to reach the right people with the right skills and pass the ultimate test, which is getting somebody a job. And it starts by using data to identify what jobs are in demand, what jobs are companies having a hard time filling. And you share information about those jobs to, say, people who are looking for a new job, people who are unemployed, people who are thinking about their future, so that they can start to look at things through that lens. The next step is to take data from employers about what skills they feel people need in order to fill those jobs. And in many ways, as you mentioned again, and as I talked about before, they're tech-enabled jobs. It may be somebody who works in sales or marketing or customer support or you name it, in anything. But we're now, with data, able to identify the kinds of skills that specifically employers are looking to fill. And for us at Microsoft, as you might imagine, the LinkedIn service, which we own and operate, is probably the world's single best database and provides the best data set, both locally, nationally, and globally, to help answer those kinds of questions. Then you construct a learning path. And this is where the work of NPower Canada will be critical for this program. So you get people on a path that's going to lead them towards the kind of job that you want, and they start to take courses. They can do it online, they can do it in person, they can do it in a hybrid environment, which will probably increasingly be about the future. The next thing we know is that typically what really helps somebody get a job is not just completing a course, but getting some kind of certification. You pass a test of some sort. But you get a certificate that we know businesses care about, because that too is what makes all the difference. And then the final step is you connect people with the job opportunities. Some people, of course, need more help than others, and this is where many nonprofits fill in the gap. Some people may need in-person mentoring. They may need additional advice, and this is where we find investments in the nonprofits of the world really help advance things. And then the other thing I'll just say is, one of the things I find fascinating is how we're also putting artificial intelligence to work. These days, as you can imagine, a lot of job interviews are not taking place in person. They're taking place through, typically a laptop or maybe a phone. So at LinkedIn, one of the things we've done is created an AI-based assistant so that you can rehearse, you can practice, and you'll get feedback about how you're doing. So to me, all of these things are sort of slices of the future. And what I think is really is exciting is we all know the economy is going to continue to change. And I think this is a formula that will enable us to adapt to these ongoing changes.
Thanks, Brad. I'm mindful of our time, and I know we could spend probably the rest of the afternoon together, but we might be overstaying our welcome. Brad, that's a fantastic overview of where we can go with this kind of commitment across a big organization like Microsoft, companies like NPower and Blueprint working together with the Supercluster. And Minister Champagne, I'm going to give the last word to you because we know as Canadians, we have a huge potential with our human capital. We know we've got a commitment in our Government of Canada to drive inclusive, equitable training and skills development for our youth. And we know that through your commitment to initiatives such as the Supercluster, you're looking at different ways to build Canada's future and our economic recovery and prosperity for all Canadians as we come through the pandemic. So, Minister Champagne, last word to you before I close. What does this kind of project, the commitment that you've heard from Microsoft, the exciting approaches you've heard from Julia and NPower, what does it mean to the future of Canada?
Well, I'm excited and inspired, Sue. You know, now my brain was racing. I said, I need 10 others like that. So, Brad, keep your phone next to you because I want more of that. This is exciting. I mean, actually, I hope that the youth who are watching today with us could see themselves in what Julia was describing. I hope you're seeing yourself there. When she was saying this young woman, for example, who's trying to move to a better job, and that is going to be the path. Or if you're a racialized Canadian and you say, how am I going to get that job? Now you have a path to success. I hope you're seeing yourself, and I'd like to give you a homework, is to spread the good news. Spread the good news that there's a path to success. And this is fascinating. I was listening to Brad. You start with needs, you get skills, you get certification, you get a job. It's very simple. And we have said, because of what you said, Sue, and the work you're doing, and Brad, that the skills you're going to get today are going to allow you to be in all sorts of sectors. This is not sector specific. I was thinking when you were talking, you could be in the aerospace sector. I've been on factories where there's more equipment there that I've never seen before. If you think your computer or my computer and the program I may have might be complex, I just challenge you, go in a manufacturing facility these days who are repairing airplanes, building cars. I mean, it's full of electronics, it's full of technology, it's full of skills that you need in order to be, even if you want to go in a manufacturing job, let alone if you want to be in the digital economy where you can do a lot of things. But what I'm most inspired of today is that there's a path to success. Today, this is a clear path. You can enter the path and you lead to a job. We know the needs, you're going to get the training, the certificate, and then you're going to lead to a job. For me, the supercluster, Sue, is all about scale, speed, and success. Because the superclusters for me is all about bringing, whether you're an SME, it's about scale. Because we know that if you want to build an ecosystem, you need scale. You need an enabler in order to bring other people around. Then in terms of speed is because we've seen cities who are successful in the world have mixed academia, have mixed research and development, which then attract the partners like a Microsoft. They come to Vancouver because Vancouver is attractive. Why? Because of its people. Not only for the good weather you have. I come from a part of Canada where it's minus 18 today, by the way, but I can understand why you would want to go to Vancouver. But you go to Vancouver because you have built the ecosystem. And the supercluster, whether it's about ocean, whether it's about advanced manufacturing, it's trying to build scale. And then the speed, I would think, because when you put good people together, good things happen. So I'm really empowered. I know there's 50 seconds left. You see, Sue, I could go on and on, but I'll just say one thing. For all of those who are on the screen today, the homework is spread the good word. There's a path to success. What NPower is doing is extraordinary. They're across Canada, and I wish we would see more of them. companies like Microsoft are going to be enabling for you to get the skills that you need. We as government will do our part to make sure that we provide the funding, the strategic vision. And Sue, you've been the one who put us all together today. So really, I can only say it's thanks to people like you, thanks to the Supercluster, that you can bring all that what we needed today to provide a path to success. And my last word is for the youth who are watching us today. There's a path to success. I would say seize the moment, be ambitious, and join in the digital economy. Merci.
Thank you, Minister. And we are at time. And final thank you. It's only with the support of committed partners like Microsoft, like NPower, and the Government of Canada that we can do the kinds of things that we're doing in the Supercluster. And I do want to do a shout out to the entire Supercluster team. It's the team behind these projects that supports our SMEs, that supports the collaborative innovation approach that we take, that's really turning the dial for Canadians and the future that we have to lead in digital solutions. 2020 didn't turn out the way anyone imagined. And we've got a long way to go to beat COVID-19. And some of the losses can't be reversed. But even with this crisis, there have been opportunities. We've seen Canadians come together to support each other. We've marveled at the resilience and the dedication, the perseverance of our frontline workers, and we will be forever grateful to them. And in our Supercluster, we've seen an overwhelming determination of industry with leadership from people like Brad Smith and Julie Blackburn and our minister. We've seen Canadian organizations come together to try and develop the kind of future that we know is for all of us in Canada, especially in the digital world. So I'm going to close with echoing the minister's comments to our youth, to our young people. Canada is the best place on the planet to live, to work, to raise your family. And with organizations like Microsoft, like NPower, Blueprint, working together with the Supercluster and with the support of our Government of Canada, there's nothing that we can't do, and we've just got started. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Brad. Thank you, Julia. I hope one day we can get together in person and toast our success and plan for the future success of Canada and the partnerships that we have. Stay safe, everyone. Take care of yourselves. Thank you very much. Goodbye.